What is going on, YouTube? It is your boy Faithful to God. And tonight I'm going to address a known Hebrew Israelite troll by the name of Judah Natzarah. So I'm just going to wait a few minutes because the last time I did this, I believe that the stream started me off in the middle of my sentence. So I'm just going to speak for a little bit longer and then I'm going to go right into it. But basically, this hangout, or I should say this live stream, since there aren't any more hangouts, is directed at a gentleman by the name of Judah Natzarah. Now, Judah Natzarah is known in our communities, both the Christian and Hebrew Israelite community, as a troll. In other words, he's a gentleman who goes around basically trying to pick fights with certain individuals, and he does so in possibly the most condescending and disrespectful manners possible. And so Judah Natzarah is a known troll, but nevertheless, even trolls need to be put on blast every once in a while. And so this is why this hangout is being done. So Judah Natzarah recently made two videos on Vocab Malone, and in the latest one, he actually made reference to me. In the specific video where he's talking about me, he mentions an interaction that we had on my Facebook wall, in which Judah Natzarah was soundly refuted on his assertions. He was shown to not be cognizant of even basic Hebrew grammar. And the reality of the matter is that Mr. Natzarah has had a long-standing feud with us over, I believe it's the Hebrew language, which he himself cannot speak, ironically enough, yet he claims to be a teacher in it. So basically, Mr. Natzarah decided that he would make videos, and in the latest one, again, he mentions me and he talks about our interaction. And I wanted to bring to attention to his followers that Mr. Natzarah, aside from the fact that he doesn't actually know Hebrew, he's also double-minded. He is a person who seemingly contradicts himself. He'll say one thing, but then he'll do something completely different. And so, for example, what I'd like to show is not only is he contradicting himself on his now, I would say, disdain for the term Hebrew, when he was using the term Hebrew as early as 2017 until we started having interactions with him. And then immediately he begins to assert that the language can no longer be called Hebrew, even though he was calling it Hebrew during the time that we were having interactions with him. And I also want to show that he likes to call Christians phallic worshipers, or he likes to use really disparaging, condescending language towards Christians. And yet he claims that, and I'll say this in his fraudulent dialect, he claims that quote unquote Yahweh, or YHWH, or Yahweh in actual Hebrew, told him to seek me out for advice. I'll repeat that one more time. Mr. Natzarah, the same man who says that Christians are witches, that we're warlocks, that we're, what does he say? We're phallic worshipers, we worship Beelzebub, or whatever he claims. He claims that the God of Israel told him to seek out the very person that he claims is a phallic worshiper and a witch. So I'm going to bring that out a little later, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of the clip from his channel, from his latest video where he slanders me. I'm just going to play a little bit of this. Hopefully this plays. I know that streaming on this platform has been a little tedious, and hopefully I'm not going to have any issues like last time, but I'm going to go ahead and play this. Hopefully the audience can hear me. If everyone can hear me, please type 1 in the live chat, just so I know that this is actually running. So I'm actually going to play it right now. Let's see if this will work. Here we go.
All I said was, where is the word Hebrew in the Torah and prophets? He asked me a million questions. I answered every single question. He refused to answer one question.
That's actually incorrect. We actually had an interaction. Anyone can go to my Facebook wall and they can see our interaction. And if anyone has me add as a friend, they can actually look at it themselves. It's actually in the Lashawan Quadash debunked video. There's a bunch of comments in there, but if you search long and hard enough, you will actually see our interaction where I answered his questions and I ignored the ones that had nothing to do with the salient points that were being raised. What he wanted to do was engage me in a million other topics other than the one that we were actually interacting with. But in the midst of that, he admitted what you guys are about to see later, that supposedly, according to him, Yahweh, quote unquote, told him to seek me out for advice. Now, keep in mind, he thinks I'm a phallic worshiper, I'm a witch, and all this other stuff. So back in 2018, I want to say late 2017, early 2018, we put together a video series where we refuted Mitzvah Natzarah. So you can see right here. It is in the Torah Nights only, Torah Nights and Torah Only Hebrew Israelites Exposed playlist on my channel. And we did several videos. One was Lashawan Quadash Refuted, a primer. Then we have Responding to Judah Natzarah's Misunderstanding of Hebrew, Part 2. Responding to Judah Natzarah's Misunderstanding of Hebrew, that's the first one. And then there's a debate that took place between the Torah Knights and members of Soldiers of God back in 2016. Needless to say, we've made videos. He claims that we haven't actually made videos against him. There are 3 videos where we actually address his objections about the Hebrew language that he claims is Yiddish, but is actual Hebrew, versus the fraudulent dialect that he promotes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the relevant portion in this video to show that we've actually been addressing this argument for quite some time now. It has been him who has not interacted with our points. And this was also the case in the interaction where we had, where I was answering his questions and I was refuting his assertions, and yet he didn't seem to want to engage with any of the points that I was raising. So here's a little bit of some of the video. This is from Lashawan Quadash Refuted, a primer. I believe we put this out. This is the last one that we put out in 2018, early 2018. Here we go.
Yeah, October. So yeah, this is 2017. Those other posts were old. And the funny
and ironically enough, he has a big thing against the term Hebrew. So to give a little bit of context. So this video is going to demonstrate that in late 2017, a few months before we actually started making response videos to him, he was using the term Hebrew very casually. But then all of a sudden, when we start having correspondence with him back and forth, now all of a sudden you can't call the language Hebrew, and he creates this incredible polemic against the term Hebrew. But here we go.
funny thing is,
So this was only a few months ago.
yeah,
I mean, this wasn't even that long. October.
yeah. Actually, it would be good to zoom in. Let's see if I can zoom in. I don't know how it'll look on your.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Yep.
It's a little sloppy, unfortunately. It's pixelated, but
October 16th, 2017. So let's
also
somebody
want you to
say, "Oh,
compare
this
the
is
text to the top."
another one from 5 years ago, from 7 years ago. Here you have one from a few months ago."
Exactly. And this is the last one I'm going to show. But so he at the top he has a verse from the Quran, and the funny thing is he has the very diacritics that he wants to attack. By the way, he also says there's no use in Arabic and Hebrew. He's clearly still referring to the language as Hebrew as recently as last October.
Right.
That this is a new rule they created. But also he has the very diacritics that he rejected, I guess.
Well, no. But this is the amazing thing. In our conversation in December, he referred to the language as Hebrew. What is he talking about?
Yeah. It's a new rule. It's completely new. They made up.
He made it. Now either he made it up on the fly because he realized that he was losing the basically the back and forth. He was losing it. So I guess now he's just trying to grasp at straws, and they're basically just gonna, on the fly make up this new rule. Well, don't call it Hebrew. Meanwhile, he was calling it Hebrew as recently as December. What is this guy talking about?
Exactly. I want to share one other thing. Check this out. We mentioned this before in the controversy over Lashon Kodash. Can you see this? Yeah, you can see it. When they were trying to pretend like, well, we don't use Lashon Kodash. That's something that, One West got from those Edomite rabbis and all that. And turns out Toranite members were using Lashon Kodash. And then, but not only that, look at this. He wrote Lashon Kodash, the Abare language. And this is also from 2017. He's literally referring to Lashon Kodash, Abare.
Damaging evidence, man.
Yeah.
Evidence
It's
against
a completely
his
new rule that they made up. They didn't want to.
So basically, Mr. Can't speak tonight. Mr. Natzarah essentially was asserting that the language was neither called Hebrew nor Lashon Kodash, and yet in 2017, he was referring to the language as Lashon Kodash and Hebrew. And so I wanted to point this out to show the double-mindedness behind this gentleman. He seemingly forgets about the fact that he makes these sort of arguments, and then this kind of thing comes out and it exposes him. So what I want to do now is to kind of bring down this little screen that's in the top right corner. Hopefully it'll show up. All right, there we go. And I'm going to see if I could expand this a little more. Let's see if I could expand this a little more. It'll let me. Nope, it's not letting me. Okay. I guess that's as much as it's going to let me do it. All right, so hopefully you guys can see this. If not, I will read this for the audience out there. This is an interaction that Judah Natzarah and I had in, let me see if I can see my screen. This was in March of 2018, March 12th to be exact. This is where see, I can't speak tonight. I guess because I'm talking about someone who is really incognizant of these issues and is not that, well-versed, kind of makes me feel a little inarticulate. So I feel like I got to kind of, match the person that I'm dealing with right now. So in March of 2018, Mr. Natzarah reached out to me, essentially asking for advice. But I want you guys to look at something on your screen. He says, "Shalom, Mike. Listen, there's a lot of folly going amongst Israelites burning the New Testament, and I want to come to you because you are a very outspoken Christian. And I want to publicly apologize to vocab and to Christians and to the Christians and New Testament Israelites for acting like I was wiping my butt with the New Testament. It's vile and ignoble. Then I want to call out these vile Israelites who are doing this." Now, keep in mind, in his latest videos, he's attacking Christians. He's referring to us with very disparaging remarks. And yet here he was in 2018 trying to extend an olive branch out to me and pretend as if he wasn't one of these people who was engaging in this sort of behavior. Now, of course, he's apologizing for it, but then here's an example of him being double-minded. Now, what I want to do is I want to go ahead and show you guys. That was his apology in 2018. We ended up having a voice chat. In this voice chat, he told me that in his fraudulent pronunciation system, quote unquote, Yahweh told him to seek me out for advice. Now, this is the same guy who claims that I'm a Jesuit, that I'm a witch, that I'm a phallic worshiper, you name it. And yet he claims that the God of Israel told him to seek me out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, since he is a Tanakh onlyist, but doesn't Torah speak out against witches and it commands for the Israelites to burn them, not seek them for advice, but burn them, right? So why was he seeking me out, actively seeking me out for advice and claiming that the God of Israel told him to do this if the same God of Israel is telling him that we're somehow witches? How does that even begin to make sense? Now, if Mr. Natzarah claims that I'm making this up, it's almost like my tongue is stopping me from calling him Mr. It's like since he's not so gentleman-like, I guess I shouldn't be calling him Mr. I should just call him Judah, Judah Natzarah. All right, so this was our recent interaction. This is where we had our back and forth. And as you can see right here, I called him out. I said, am I lying, bro? I got receipts. Tell the truth in here. Did you or didn't you tell me that YHWH, which he pronounces Yahweh, told you to seek me for advice? Now, this is his response at the bottom. Yeah, of course. I was just talking to my wife about our conversation. What's your point, sir? So again, I'm going to repeat the question because I don't want there to be any sort of doubt about what's going on here. Now, I said, I asked you a question. Did you or didn't you tell me that, and I'm going to say it in his fake pronunciation, that Yahweh, quote unquote, told you to seek me for advice? Why would, quote unquote, Yahweh, and why would, quote unquote, Yahweh, and I'll just put it in here because this is what I meant to say, ask you to seek someone who you believe is a, quote unquote, I'll use a different term here, phallic worshiper for advice? So that's a yes, Judah. And then I tag someone else that seems to follow him so that he could see this for himself. And look what he says. Did you not tell me what I needed to know? Yes or no? And then if you look at the bottom, he actually says right here, that's an emphatic yes, Mike. So here we have evidence that Mr. Natzarah actively sought me out for advice, claiming that the God of Israel told him to seek me out for advice. And I should point out that this is roughly around the time that he was having issues with Chris Harris as well, who unfortunately is no longer a Torahite and has actually abandoned the Bible and now embraces Egyptology, if I'm not mistaken. So I just want to point out that our friend Judah Natzarah is double-minded. He does these sort of things. He behaves very childlike. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want this to be on record. I want people to know the sort of character that Judah Natzarah actually is. Now, what I'm going to do right here on the side is to show people that since our interaction was very long, this would have been extremely long if I would have posted every last screenshot. But this was the general reaction to the debate that we had, the mini debate in text. This is from another Torah onlyist by the name of Kana Lawa, or Kwana Lawa. Let me actually say it right. So I've actually edited out most of the vulgarity, hopefully. Hope I didn't miss any. So he basically says, bleeping douchebag. Bleeping made everyone look dumb with your bull bleep. That's why your butt should sit the bleep down and shut the bleep up. You don't know how to explain bleep. And so here you have various members of the people who follow him, who follow Kwana Lawa, interacting and saying, of course, I missed something. Ha, 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 ha. And then here we have one Dawad Charab saying, LOL, is this about Judah Naz? And he says, Khan, which is their way of saying yes in Lashawan Kodash. He embarrassed all of us to them yids. They seem to think that we're yids. I'm Latino. I don't know if he knows that, but didn't defend blank, just talk nonsense. And we are associated with him. It says, we are associated with him. I guess it says, and I guess he meant to say, and One West, even though neither of them speak proper Hebrew. And then someone put God bleeping it. This is why these bleeps got to go. And so you guys can see the rest. So Here's another person that I've had interactions with, James Hensman. He and I have had disagreements in the past, and even he had to admit that Judah Natzarah lost the debate. He says, to be honest, Mike won this dialogue with Judah. And then he goes on to present an argument to Judah Natzarah. So I am seriously just appalled by Judah Natzarah's behavior, the fact that he feels that it's okay to call people phallic worshipers, but then claim that the God of Israel told him to seek out phallic worshipers for advice. How does that begin to make sense? And again, this is his allegation. We are not phallic worshipers. We do not agree with Judah Natzarah on his slander. And this is what he's known for. I'm making this video so that his followers can see that he is double-minded. Truthfully, I'm a bit apathetic about wanting to make this because I don't consider Judah Natzarah to be especially serious. The videos that we made were very well thought out, and they were well argued. And his responses to our videos, I'm talking about the Hebrew videos that I showed earlier in the playlist, his responses to those videos were to essentially ad hom us, employ slander, and make up false allegations against us. And so I really don't see how anybody takes him that seriously. I'm, again, making this video for his followers so they can see the sort of double-minded man that he is. Again, for anyone who's a Torah Knight, I wonder how you are going to reconcile the fact that one of the main teachers in your group is known for seeking out people for advice and then claiming that the God of Israel, the same God that he claims tells him that Christians are phallic worshipers, is also somehow telling him to go seek out these same phallic worshipers for advice. How does that begin to make sense? Anywho, I think that this is pretty much going to be the end of this video. Before I wrap this up, though, I do want to say this. Judah Natzarah, truthfully, I don't hate you. I desire that you would come to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior before your time on this earth is done. Virtually everything that you say about Jesus Christ is incorrect. And you have a very poor understanding of the Bible, including the Old Testament that you solely stick to. You seemingly create doctrines on the fly. You seem to have very little knowledge of what you're talking about. And I'm not saying this to disrespect or slander you in return. Rather, I'm simply calling you to be humble and to reevaluate what it is that you're saying, because I truly desire to see you be saved, man. I truly do hope that you would come to know the Lord Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior before your time on the earth is done. And at some point in time, I hope that the Lord would absolutely convict your heart and cause you to see this firsthand. I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say. But other than that, I hope that your followers right now can see through the shenanigans that you're doing and can discover that you are absolutely double-minded, that your approach to, I guess, just to conversations in general is absolutely distorted. And Judah, just so you know, I was actually going to make, I guess, a more, how would I put it? You know, I was going to take a different approach. I was going to take an approach that I felt was a little more personal than this. And I stopped myself because I didn't think it was the right thing. And I think you and I both know what I'm referring to. I'm just going to say that I didn't go there out of respect for people who have nothing to do with our back and forth, because I don't believe in involving people's families into these sort of matters. I think that that's very reprehensible and disrespectful behavior. That's the sort of behavior that aberrant groups like Sakari engage in, groups that have no respect, that have no decorum, no code of honor. And I personally don't believe in doing that sort of thing. But I will say this, though. I will say that I could have brought out much more evidence, personal evidence, to show others how double-minded you actually are. But I will refrain from taking it any further than it is gone right now. I sincerely just hope that you will refrain from making slander videos against us, because I think that this speaks for itself. This right here is damaging evidence against your character. I think you need to do some soul searching. I think you need to introspect. You need to sit back and analyze the sort of person that you are. And I think that you absolutely need to repent. And you should turn from the heresy that you find yourself in, and that you would embrace Christ as the Messiah before, again, your time on this earth is done, because the outcome is not going to be good for you if you remain in the state that you're in. But that's pretty much all I have to say. For others, if he continues to engage in the sort of behavior that he has been engaging in, please share this so that others can see the sort of double-mindedness that he exhibits. I think others need to be warned about Mr. Natzarah. With that being said, I think I'm going to wrap things up here. Yeah, God bless you all. Take care.